Justin. Saw Josh having a bowl out there today. How's he pulling up, and is there any chance you'll consider him for this test?
Probably not for this test match. If he had his way, he probably would be, but we'll probably play him a couple of big bash games, and just to make sure he's right for the one days. He's back in the one day side. It always puts a smile on your face seeing him up and running, so he looks in good shape. Hopefully we'll get him right for the one days.
All the other quicks have pulled up fine after the workload. They've rested today, didn't they? But that's just an extra day off for them.
Yeah, just an extra day off. It's a different time of the year, obviously, with we shared nets with New Zealand today. We took our optional session today rather than tomorrow. But we were really lucky. The way they played so well in the test match, you get big advantage out of that because then they didn't bowl as many overs. The medicos are happy, the S&C guys are happy, the coaches are happy, and hopefully they'll be okay for this test match.
Just you were part of an Australian team which had like a ruthless aura to it. So are you beginning to get that feel with this team? And if not, what more do they need to do to kind of get there?
Yeah, we got to keep winning. That's the only way you get it is you got to keep winning. So, and what's most interesting to me is that we haven't really talked about we've had targets. For example, the World Cup, we targeted that a bit out. We had the Ashes last year. I put it to the team at the start of this summer. What's our next target? And I put it to the leadership group, and they started talking about the World Championship and the Test match so all of a sudden there's a focus there. So rather than, but we haven't really talked, that's about the only out. We've got a bit of a target, but then we just get on and do what we're doing, and we're starting to build a recipe like great teams do or great players do. We're building a recipe we know that works. So the key is to stick to that and keep refining it, and then the outcomes look after themselves. So there's, I suppose, been a bit of shift there for us, and hope that's working well at the moment. And if you keep doing that, you start winning. Then people or oppositions, or then they get to describe the team in however they like.
Any discussions, arrangements, preparations around the smoke issues that will
There's not
probably
much we
affect
can
the
do,
test?
Pete. Obviously, there'll be a lot of people that are going to keep on top of it. But the reality is, this is a game of cricket. In our game, it's an important game of cricket. It's a test match. But in terms of what's happening around Australia, I mean, it's stupid. It'll be the first time I ever say this in my life. I hope it rains a bit during the test match because actually Sydney needs it. Hope it doesn't rain. Hope it rains at night so we can keep playing cricket. But Sydney, like lots of parts of Australia, needs the rain, doesn't it? So we'll keep an eye on it. We'll get on and do it as well as we can. But obviously our hearts go out to. We are so privileged. We are so privileged what we do. We get to play cricket, we get to play test cricket. A lot of people in Australia are suffering. We've talked about, I don't want to get corny here or sentimental, but we've talked about making Australians proud of us for the last 12 or 18 months, earning back respect. And we talk about making Australians, and we're feeling for all the Australians out there who are suffering, and it's a really tough time. Hopefully all we can do is put a smile on their face by playing some good cricket.
Justin, just with it being an unusual situation, have you sort of been briefed at all by medical people or anything, and will the players be spoken to by a doctor or anything like that?
Yeah, the doctor, I think there's some sort of formula they work out with, but the doctor will keep an eye on that. I know that obviously there's that game, the Big Bash game, that was abandoned. Whether it gets to that point, only time, that's Mother Nature, isn't it? Time will tell, but at this stage we'll just go on as business as usual.
Difficult to make changes, I assume, goes without saying.
That's a brilliant journalistic question, Pete, because you want to know what the team is, don't you? I love that. Yeah, it's going to be hard to make changes. That said, I think it's really important that we wait because we've seen it in the Shield games. The groundsman's telling us he's expecting it to spin, so we have to show that some respect as well. But the boys are playing so well. We've talked about keeping the same group together as much as possible. The fact that James Pattinson came in and bowled so well in the last Test match as a replacement for Josh Hazlewood. That's really heartening for our depth, obviously. We've got Michael Nesta, we've got Mitch Swepson. He is bowling very well. His improvement warrants for him to be here. But, we'll wait and see over the next 2 days what the wicket looks like.
Justin, there was conjecture earlier in the summer about how long Tim Paine might go on as captain. I mean, given the strength of his performances in the team, and I suppose the fact that he's hinted at the World Test Championship final as being a target, do you now see him going on as long as that?
Well, the truth is there's been conjecture from outside. There's never been 1 millisecond of conjecture within our team. I said to you guys at the start of the sale, he's almost our most important player because he's a very good leader. His captaincy's been excellent. He's the best wicketkeeper in the world. He's as fit as anyone in the group. We know if he believed he could bat as well as we think he can, then you'll see results like we saw in the last Test match, and we saw it a couple of times during the Ashes. So there's always a bit of conjecture, but certainly not within our camp. He's so important to us. I hope he plays for as long as he possibly can because his leadership's been brilliant. He working with the leadership group. I love working with him personally, so he's really important to us. So there's certainly no conjecture from our point of view.
Do you see him comfortably getting that far, mid-2021, if Australia make the final or further? Or?
Yeah, truthfully, I cannot see one reason why he wouldn't. I mean, his last game, to judge on his last performance, he got 8. He probably was pushing to be man of the match. 8 dismissals. He got 70-odd with the bat. And really, the way he played his innings was what was most exciting. The way he leads the group. I just literally can't think of one reason at the moment, and he's so fit, is why he wouldn't keep playing for as long as he wants to or needs to.
Justin, just with Mitchell Swepson being here, do you think you'll have if it does turn, do you think you'll have enough with Marnus being in the side that you wouldn't need the second specialist?
Yeah, it's certainly an option. That's how we have to look at it. We're talking about finding another all-rounder in Australian cricket. Well, it might give us an opportunity to bowl Marnus, bowl Travis Head a few overs to find those extra overs we're looking for. So every time Marnus gets the ball in his hand, it's pretty exciting. He's working hard and getting his lines right, so he makes them play a bit more. But he's an exciting prospect. I think the way he spins the ball, he looks... the more he can bowl in games, then that's important. Whether he's in white ball cricket or Sheffield Shield cricket or Test cricket, the more he can bowl, the more, like we've seen his development as a batsman, haven't we? The more he can bowl, the more he will improve, I think.
Justin, what did you make of Warney's comments about possibly resting a Nathan Lyon and giving Swepson a run?
I thought Lino's response was absolute gold. As I believe it, he said something. Shane, would you have given up a Test match to give Stewie McGill a Test match? I sort of understand his sentiment, but there's no way any Australian cricketer wants to miss a Test match. And we're always looking at the big picture. Mitch Swepson's improving. He might play this Test match. But yeah, I thought Lino's probably response summed it all up.
The way Steve Smith played in England, we couldn't have imagined him going through an Aussie summer without 100. This is his last chance, his favourite playground. Are you going to back him in?
Back in Steve Smith? Oh, like I said, last Test match, I get excited when but again, put it in perspective, he got a brilliant 85 in the first innings at the MCG, missed out in the second innings when we were way ahead of the game. As I said before, last Test match, when someone like him isn't scoring hundreds, I actually get a smile on my face. I don't worry about it. I actually get excited because anyone averages 63 or 4 in Test cricket, it means they make a lot of hundreds. I imagine it's not far off him. He's that hungry. He's working on it. And, yeah, I'm more excited. I just love watching him bat. So hopefully he bats for a long time this Test match.
Is there a bit of a competition between him and Marnus? Given Marnus got more runs this year?
I think it's nice that they've got that sort of... If there is a bit of rivalry within the group, I think it's great. It's the same with our fast bowlers. Yeah, Marnus has had a really good year, but Steve Smith's the best batsman in the world. So, and probably Marnus is aspiring to do that. And to do that, you've got to do it over many years, and that's what Smithy's doing. So, it's nice. It's nice to have those little rivalries in the group, and they're very affectionate rivalries. But if it keeps driving the team, then it's a positive thing.
Another one of Mitch Swepson. What, since you last had a close look at him, what improvements have you seen, and do you think, even if he doesn't play this Test, that tour of Bangladesh will have a big role to play? Yeah,
sure. One of the great strengths of Nathan Lyon that he works on is not only takes wickets, but he bowls very economically as well, which builds pressure up. And with the way our fast bowlers bowl, they build so much pressure on the opposition. Nathan Lyon does that. Mitch Swepson over the last 6 months or so has worked really hard on that with Queensland. He's bowling, it's come out of his hand, he's getting nice shape, but he's also keeping his economy rate down, which keeps so much pressure on the opposition. So that's what's probably been most pleasing, and the biggest part of he's a talent. He's a really good young bloke, and but just the way he's able to maintain the pressure on the opposition is making him a better bowler.
How does the idea of 4-day test sit with you, even in big series like the Ashes?
My preference, I'm a traditionalist, so anyone who knows me, I don't like to change too much, so I probably prefer 5-day test matches. But again, like with wickets, like with schedules, like if it's 4-day test matches, if it keeps Test cricket alive and well, then it's worth looking at. But I love 5-day, only because I'm probably boring and don't like to change much.
Justin, the Black Cats have shown quite a bit of aggression, short pitch bowling. That approach, do you expect that to continue here? Obviously, they've lost by big margins, but they want to obviously give Steve Smith and Matt Wade in particular something to think about. Is that more of the same you're expecting?
I hope so, because if it is, then we'll hopefully get the same results. I mean, again, let's keep it in perspective. I said it before the last Test match. We've got we go back to England. Steve Smith got hit badly in the third Test. England took that approach. Our guys batted beautifully after that. We've got 400 in the first innings of the last 4 Test matches. Our goal is to do that, which means if you get 400 in the first innings, means there's plenty of time for short pitch bowling. Our guys have played it so well. In the second innings, when we've been on top of the game in Perth in the last Test, the guys probably didn't adapt to it like they did in the first innings, but if New Zealand, it's none of our business what New Zealand do. I'm really, really pleased with the way our guys are handling everything that New Zealand are throwing at us.
Justin, do you think with the next Test, like not 6 months away now, do you think Joe Burns needs a big score here to ensure he doesn't leave the door open for some other opener, or do you think he's done enough to cement his place?
No, I really like what he brings to the team. Actually, he said to me today, if he gets in today, he's not going to give it away this time, and he's determined. I just really like what he and David Warner bring to the group. There's one of those teams within the team that I talked about before the last Test match. I like what he brings to the group, and he's playing well. Obviously, if it's like with every player, if you're not scoring runs, you leave the door open. But certainly what he's bringing to the team at the moment has been really valuable.
Last couple of them. Justin, we saw you give your hat to a fan out there today. What was going on there?
It's not unusual. I mean, again, if you can put the smile on the faces of any Australians, whether they're kids or Bill was telling me he's 80 years old, so that's one of the privileges of the job. You can put smiles on people's faces, and again, without getting too deep or sentimental, hopefully we've done that a lot over the last 12 or so months. We're making people feeling happy and like the Australian cricket team again. So there's nothing too much in that. I just thought he'd appreciate having an Australian training cap on his head. It looks like he's going through a bit of a tough time. He's told me his son-in-law's house nearly got burned down the last couple of days. So, it's just about putting a smile on Aussies' faces.
And it's January 1. Have you got any New Year's resolutions?
Well, I remember being in this press conference this time last year, and then there was Langer management with anger written all over the because I stared at some young punk journo, but didn't get too happy about it. So long may it continue. I mean, the boys are playing really, really good cricket. There's an amazing environment within the group, as it wouldn't surprise anyone here. So it's more fun winning than losing. The year's been incredible with a World Cup and an Ashes. The way the boys have individually are getting better, the way the group's getting better, the feeling in the camp's unbelievable. But the trick is to maintain it. It's often one part of it's to get to a point, and we go back to you asked about a great Australian team. We've got great teams. They can do it over. The All Blacks do it over and over again. The Australian cricket team in the past has been able to. Hopefully I can be sitting here in 12 months' time, again with a smile on my face. We've played some great cricket, and that's what the plan for the new year is, to not start again, but just to continue building this great momentum that's happening in Australian cricket at the moment. It didn't feel like it 12 months ago.
Justin, Will Somerville's had some success out here at the SCG for the Blues. What sort of threat can he pose if he plays in this test?
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if New Zealand play two spinners or not. Certainly that's why there's going to be discussion about playing the spinners. We know a lot of our guys have played with him before, so they'll have a pretty good idea. He's obviously, we talk about economy rate, he's tall, he's got good economy rate. We'll have to be patient against him. But with all the New Zealand bowlers, we know that he's in the squad now. We know Astel's in the squad, so they might play him as the leggy as well. We'll be well prepared and we'll be well planned for him.